tip. Logo LeBron made an appearance last night in Game 4. Chauncey, is everyone just going to pull up from half court from now on? Is this where we are?
Oh, man, why am I in the studio and not in the league? I could have did that.
Mr. Big Shot. Come on,
man,
Matt.
That was sweet. That was sweet.
That's insane. I mean, Dame is pushing the limits, but everyone forgot who started this was Steph.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
well, I don't think anyone forgot that.
forget.
I will also say that I'm old enough to remember when LeBron, quote, couldn't shoot. So there's that, too. Welcome to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I'm coming to you from our L.A. studios that are now officially located on Kobe Bryant Boulevard, which feels so
Right.
Today, I am joined by Mr. Chauncey Billups, 2004 NBA Finals MVP,
Big shot.
5-time All-Star, Mr. Big Shot.
Happy
Chauncey,
to be here. Happy
thanks
to
so
be
much.
here.
14-year NBA vet turned host of All the Smoke, Matt Barnes. And Matt, we haven't been with you in the studio for a while.
Wow.
So I got to talk to you about something, because in 2017, you were a member of the Warriors, who won the title that year, of course.
Right.
You participated in a ring ceremony, especially for you, with your sons the following season. But you did not pick the ring up and take it with you.
Come
you
on.
spoke
Not
recently
true.
on
Not
the
true.
podcast
Not true.
about feeling like you didn't quite earn it, right? Because you got injured and because you didn't play that many minutes in the postseason.
Right.
But the Golden State Warriors vehemently disagree with you so much.
So do I, by the way.
They had a courier drive your ring down from the Bay Area
Get outta
to
here.
Los Angeles when they heard you were coming into the studio
that's
today.
Oh,
We are so
yeah.
honored to present you with your
Hey, man.
2017 NBA
So special.
championship ring.
Oh, man.
And as you look at that sucker, I got a message from your old coach. Take a look.
Coach Kerr, my God.
Hey, Matt, congratulations. About time you took this ring. I mean, we've been trying to give it to you for about 3 years. So,
Oh, man.
no, in all seriousness, I just want to say this was well-deserved. You played a big role on our team in 17, especially when KD went down. And you were a great leader. You were fantastic to coach, one of the most competitive people I've ever been around. And you brought Warriors fans a lot of thrills over the years, going back to the We Believe era. So thank you for everything you've done for our organization. Enjoy the ring. You are an NBA champion forever, and don't ever forget that.
Wow.
That man's got a lot of rings on his finger,
Hey,
so
man.
I think he
Thank you, guys. I
he should
appreciate
know.
that, man. It's an honor. You know, so the story got tossed and turned around. So what happened was they had a special ceremony for me. Obviously, best part was my kids got rings, too. But they had me, because this is so big, I didn't want to sit in the stands with it, so they put it in a room. And then when I was ready to leave, the room was locked. And then it's just been cat and mouse ever since. So thank you. Raymond Ritter held on to it for a long time. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. And the Warriors organization, it was an honor to get front row seats to one of the greatest teams ever to do it.
That's dope.
Woo! See, we're socially distant. We don't have as many people in the studio clapping for me.
Right, I would go give him a hug and some love right
Yeah,
now.
I
'Cause it's
appreciate
hard to be a
that.
champion, but that's beautiful.
I was going to say,
Thank you.
Chauncey, you know that even if, he wasn't the leader in minutes in the playoffs and in a different role on that team, what a part Matt played in not just that year, but the organization.
Absolutely, and Coach Kerr, he expressed it beautifully. I mean, KD goes down. You get a tough, Matt, he's been around a long time. He makes big shots. He guards all the tough guys. He's a part of that fabric and that culture. And you talk about who brought some toughness to the team and some leadership to the guys. I mean, he doesn't get the credit, but Matt done a terrific job that year.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so Matt, I know you're not the kind of guy who's going to wear that around all the time, but
No.
for the rest of this show,
Yeah.
will you wear your ring, please?
I'll keep it in the box.
I tried, guys. I tried. I tried. Well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone on the Warriors. Coming up on this show, we're going to update you on Damian Lillard's status for Game 5 tomorrow night after he left Game 4 with a knee injury. We're expecting to get results from his second MRI at some point today. First, though, so Chris Paul doesn't go away, period, ever. It's that relentlessness that has enabled him at 6'1" to become one of the great true point guards in the 74-year history of the NBA. It's also sometimes what can turn people off about him. I mean, there are certainly those who just want him to give it a rest sometimes. But man, are those people missing out on appreciating a skill that's just as impressive as his silky mid-range or his dazzling court vision. Just look at where CP is now, 35 years old, playing on a team that was supposed to be rebuilding. He was traded to that team in part because he was supposedly injury-prone, because he was supposedly slowing down, because his strong will was supposedly grating on some of his teammates. And what did he do? Instead of conceding to what many would just treat as a lost season, he took stock of the limited weapons he had left at his disposal, and he sharpened them. He couldn't change having younger, inexperienced teammates, but he could work overtime to tutor them and speed up their development. He couldn't change how old he was, but he could change how old he felt. He went vegan, reshaped his workout routine, and got back some of the lift and endurance he had 5 years ago. And since he knew the Thunder were never going to regularly just steamroll into games and overpower people, he honed the art of picking his spots, becoming the most statistically clutch player in the NBA. Basically, he refused to go away. And so is it any surprise that once we got to these playoffs and the Thunder found themselves down 2-0 to the very Rockets team that traded him last summer, Chris Paul didn't back off, that he took his lackluster performances in games 1 and 2 and turned things around for game 3? Or that last night in game 4, when the Rockets led by as many as 15, he just kept coming? Ironically, it's the stretch of that game that Houston dominated where you can learn the most about Chris. This was right after halftime when Houston went 8 for 8 from 3, an onslaught that would have mentally wrecked most opponents. But through that whole stretch, CP was steady, personally scoring 11 amid the Rockets' surge. Kept OC afloat just enough that when the Rockets then started missing, the Thunder were ready. And it wasn't just Chris. Dennis Schroeder was excellent in this game. Lou Dort continued to be a defensive revelation. And the small ball lineup that Coach Billy Donovan pulled the trigger on down the stretch did exactly what it was supposed to do. In fact, over the final 18 minutes or so, the Thunder outscored the Rockets 44-26. And that includes that crazy prayer heave that Daniel House hit just before the buzzer. The win tied the series at 2 apiece. It also cemented OKC as the NBA's best comeback team. Did you know that the Thunder lead the league in winning percentage in games where they've trailed by 15 points or more? In fact, the only teams who are better at that in the past 20 years, including the playoffs, are the 2017 Golden State Warriors and the 2011 Dallas Mavericks, both of which won titles. Now, I'm not saying I'm picking the Thunder to win it all this year. They're going to have to fight just to win this series, especially if Russell Westbrook comes back from his quad injury. But I'm not surprised that a Chris Paul team is one of the best teams ever at coming back and winning games they should probably lose. Chris Paul, it's going to be fun these next few games watching him. So, Chauncey, it hasn't escaped everyone's attention that the guy that Chris Paul was traded for, Russell Westbrook, is missing this game with injuries, and that Chris Paul had the knock on him, that he was the one who was injury prone. How much pressure do you think is on the Rockets to bring Westbrook back?
I mean, obviously, that's the low-hanging fruit, right? You want to bring Russ back, and then you want to win 2 in a row, the game's over, the series is over. It's not that easy. You want to bring Russ back when he's healthy. I mean, let's face it, they won 2 games in the series without Russ. And was up big in the last game. So not too much pressure. I'm pretty sure Russ wants to be out there. We all know that. But, man, this Chris Paul's a winner. He's just a winner, you know, and everything you spoke about is so true. Like, he's going to fight until the fight is over. It doesn't matter. That's just who he is. That's why he's one of the greatest that ever laced him up at that position. But I don't think it's that much pressure to bring Russ back.
No, I agree. And I think what's most important, obviously, is his health, especially with a player that plays with so much explosiveness as Russ does. And you can see him on the court before the game. He looks good. But those are all pre-decisions that he knows, I'm going to drive by, go dunk. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull up. But in the game, you have to react on the fly. And someone, like I said, explosive, as fast, and plays as hard as Russ does, those unexpected moves are the ones that you're going to watch for. So, to me, someone who had quad injuries in my career, knowing how hard they are and how long they actually take to heal, I would err on the side of caution with Russ, because, like I said, this is something you don't want to nag, you don't want to tear. What's most important is him getting healthy. And like Sean said, they've already won 2 games without him, so they're going to have to see how it goes if Russ is not prepared to go.
And look, I understand the temptation, right? It's not just the points or assists, it's a pacing, right? The Rockets' pace has just been totally different, especially these past couple games without him on the court. Mike D'Antoni spoke about this today. He said he thinks Russell Westbrook is day-to-day at this point. He said, I'm not going to rule anything out or rule anything in. He said, we will see. So we'll keep an eye on that for you. I do want to move on to the Miami Heat, though, guys, because the Heat completed their sweep over the Pacers in a really competitive Game 4 last night. Coming into this series, we expected 6 or 7 games. Matt, was the sweep more about the Heat being really good or the Pacers being banged up? What do you see here?
I think more about the Heat being better than what I think we thought. It's all about being hot. I think you throw records out of the situation, especially with the bubble and the layoff and everything. So to me, it's about whoever gets hottest at the right time. The Heat are peaking at the right time, and they're loaded. And Jimmy Butler's been a hell of a pickup, but more of just a motivator, a veteran that gives guys like Tyler Hero playing unlike a rookie, giving, Andre Iguodala brings that same championship experience, giving confidence to Duncan Robin. I think they've done a good job of empowering their younger players because they know how important they are. So this is kind of my upset alert for the second round. I think Miami can beat Milwaukee in the second round because they match up well. And to me, it's not about, you're not going to stop Giannis, but can you contain the Bucks supporting cast? And I think they have the defense and then the big shot makers on the other side to be able to do that.
Matt's dropping some gems. I mean, first and foremost, Coach Nate McMillan did a great job this year. I mean, he had no Oladipo all season, unleashed Sabonis. He became an all-star. He did a great job, but I'm rolling with Matt. This is all about the Heat. You know, the Heat are really, really good. That Heat culture is real, and it always has been. And Riley, it's been that way since Pat Riley got there. And I got to give Jimmy Butler and his leadership some credit. You know, Jimmy has done a hell of a job down there of just getting those young boys going. I mean, they got a young roster, a very, very young roster, but they play hard, they play together. And when you're led properly and you have leadership on that bench, you always have a chance.
One of the things I've learned most from all you guys in covering the league is just how big a deal fit is, right? That the top 5% or the bottom 5% of guys would be who they are anywhere. But there is a middle 90% where if you find the right fit, that activation can be incredible. Right. And we certainly have seen Jimmy Butler and Miami are the right fit for each other. I'm taking notes on you, though, Matt, because I've heard from Jimmy Butler, he thinks that they could beat the Bucks. But hearing you say it is interesting, too. And we will keep an eye on that. Coming up in this show, Sixers GM Elton Brand spoke today. He said he's not looking to trade either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid after an embarrassing first-round exit. Is that the right choice? What should they do? We will discuss that next, right here on The Jump.